guys, how's it going? I'm Kelsey. I am the author of the new cookbook Paleo Sweets, and I'm in the kitchen today. I'm actually cooking a few recipes from the cookbook just to show you guys how it's done. And while the cake is in the oven, I thought I would take this chance to talk to you guys a little bit about some healthy sugar alternatives. So a lot of times we hear sugar and we know it's bad for us, but we don't really know what to do about it or what we can use instead. But you definitely want to start to eliminate or cut back on the refined sugar that you do consume because it's really highly inflammatory, it's really bad for your health, and it's actually been linked to increased cholesterol levels, in addition to diabetes and all of the other diseases we hear about that are related to sugar. So what can we do once we cut sugar out? We can't cut out sweets completely, right? I mean, that's what my whole cookbook is about, how to have healthy desserts. So one of the great choices I like to pick is coconut sugar. So coconut sugar is the dried syrup from the coconut palm tree, and it comes out, it's kind of granular. Can you see that? Is that good? Got it? So coconut sugar is great because it measures cup for regular sugar if you're trying to replace it in any of your recipes. The flavor is a lot like brown sugar, so it's like kind of caramelly and like a mellow sweetness. And it's interesting to note that because it's a natural product derived from a tree sap, the packages you get may vary in flavor a little bit from here or there, but generally same amount of sweetness cup for cup, and again, it tastes a little bit like brown sugar, so if you want that kind of mellow caramelly flavor, this is the perfect sweetener to use. Another great choice that I'm sure a lot of you are aware of is honey. Now honey is a little bit more tricky to sub cup for cup in recipes because unlike granulated sugar, it's liquid, so you're gonna have to adjust a few other things in the recipes, but if it's something simple like you're just sweetening your coffee or your tea, honey is a great option. And the one thing about these natural sweeteners that are alternatives to refined sugar is that they're going to have a lot of enzymes and minerals in them that refined sugar doesn't have. And one of the great things about keeping these enzymes and minerals in there is that it actually helps your body digest the sugar, so you don't end up as depleted at the end of the day after consuming sweets. So honey is a great example, especially if you get raw honey. You're going to have a lot of naturally occurring enzymes and some vitamins and minerals in there. So another alternative that's similar to honey is going to be maple syrup. Now, we always think about maple syrup being on pancakes, and I think a lot of us are familiar with a certain aunt who promotes one type of syrup, but you may be surprised to hear that a lot of the pancake syrup you see on the shelves isn't actually maple syrup. It's like a sugar corn syrup kind of hybrid, and so at the end of the day you end up consuming a much more refined product than you think you are. So pure maple syrup is what you want to look for, and it's like this, it's the same color, but again, more minerals, much better for you nutritionally, and you can find maple syrup in a couple of different varieties. There's grade A maple syrup, which comes from the first tap of the season, and it's a little bit lighter in flavor and a little bit lighter in color, or you can go for grade B, which actually has even more nutrients in it. It's a little bit darker, and the flavor is going to be a little bit more intense. So just like when you're subbing out for honey, you're going to need to tweak the recipe a little bit if you're trying to bake or cook with maple syrup, but at the end of the day, it's well worth it because you're saving your health. So last but certainly not least, don't want to spill that, we have stevia. So this is a little bit of powdered stevia. I don't know if you can see that right there. It's a white powder when it's been processed, but stevia is actually the product of the stevia plant. And the stevia plant has these tiny green leaves on it, and I've been to Costa Rica. There were stevia plants growing on the farm I was visiting. You can actually eat the leaf, and the leaf tastes really sweet. So if you get a pure, unrefined, just powdered stevia product, it's actually going to be a little bit green in nature, but we have one that has had the color taken out, and that's fine. It's not a big deal. Stevia at the end of the day is probably going to be one of the best choices you can make as a sugar substitute for coffee, for tea, and even for baking sometimes, because stevia has relatively no impact on your blood sugar, but it does have a really naturally sweet taste. So you'll see in a lot of the recipes in Paleo Sweets, I'll use a little bit of stevia combined with honey, combined with maple syrup, or combined with coconut sugar, because you can enhance the sweetness without adding more sugar. So I love stevia. I love to blend it in with my tea. There will be more recipes coming for you in the future about how to use this in all kinds of foods and drinks. So stevia is like a very general kind of neutral sweetener. Let's see, maple syrup has a little bit more of a distinct flavor. You're kind of familiar with what it tastes like, and I usually use maple syrup in recipes that call for cinnamon or warm spices like ginger, clove. It blends really well with those. Whereas honey, I would rather use in something that's a little bit fruity. We know honey has a really distinct flavor, so you will probably be able to taste the honey a little bit in whatever you make. So consider that when you're deciding whether to use honey or maple syrup. I use honey in pretty much all of the ice cream recipes in Paleo Sweets, and it works really well. It adds the right amount of liquid, helps the consistency come out nice and creamy, and again, healthy natural sweetener. The cake we're baking today, we actually used coconut sugar in. So we're making the chocolate chip cookie cake. I'm really excited to see how it turns out. It's looking super yummy right now. Because typically when you're baking chocolate chip cookies, we know some of our grandma's recipes call for brown sugar. Well, if you want to sub that out, you can just plug in coconut sugar, cup for cup. Again, it substitutes really well. So I'm going to get back to the kitchen. I'm going to check on the cake, see how it's doing, but I'm glad I got a chance to share some of these sugar alternatives with you. And again, if you pick up a copy of Paleo Sweets, you'll get tons of great ideas for how to use all of these natural sweeteners in a huge variety of baked goods and delicious, yummy treats that'll be so much healthier for you and your family and friends to enjoy. So enjoy it, pick up a copy of the book if you haven't seen it yet, and hopefully I'll see you soon. Bye.